They say the forest hides legends, but none were as haunting as his. He wasn't just a beast, he was born of moonlight and shadow, a creature feared by hunters and whispered about by wandering souls. The wolf with silver eyes, cursed by stars, roamed the wilderness alone, heart heavy with a longing even he couldn't name. He had watched the world change with seasons, had tasted the wind's sorrow, had buried brothers beneath ancient trees, and yet the ache inside him never faded, until the night she wandered in barefoot, wild-haired, eyes like dusk. She didn't scream when she saw him. She didn't run. She looked at him like she had been waiting. He growled low, instinct roaring, but something in her silence stilled him. Time bent around them. The forest hushed, and in that breathless space between danger and destiny, he realized something terrifying. He wasn't hungry for her flesh. He was starving for her soul. She had awakened something in him older than teeth, deeper than fear, and though his world was claw and fang, her gaze whispered, "Stay." She came every twilight, slipping past the roots like a secret, leaving behind trails of crushed petals and stories on her lips. She would speak to him, softly, while he hid among the thorns, tales of a village that hated the dark, of a family that feared her dreams. He never answered, but she always knew he was listening. Her voice was the first warmth he had known in centuries. Her laughter licked the air like sunlight through fog. She wasn't afraid of his silence. She filled it with wonder, planting words like seed. He watched her draw symbols in the dirt. He couldn't read, but her fingers danced like magic. One night she brought him berries, sweet and wild. He didn't eat them, but the gesture burned into him like fire. He followed her scent long after she left, haunted by the taste of her presence. Something ancient within him began to stir. Something not wolf, not man, but heart. He didn't know what love was, but he knew he needed her near, needed her alive. And that need terrified him more than the full moon ever did. One night she fell asleep beneath the birch trees, curled like a child with her face against the moss. He watched her chest rise and fall, wondering what dreams lived inside such a fragile frame. A storm raged in the distance, but she didn't wake. So he lay beside her, not touching, just guarding, muscles tense, instincts battling emotions he had no name for. In his world, closeness was danger, affection was death, but she didn't know that, and somehow neither did he anymore. The stars watched silently as the storm passed them by, as her fingers twitched beside his paws, as their breaths slowly synced. He wanted to speak, wanted to shift, but the curse was cruel. It chained him to the beast, made words a prison. So he listened, to her dreams, to the rhythm of her life. And when she woke and found him beside her, she didn't scream. She smiled, whispered, "I knew you'd stay." That night something changed, not just in him but in the air, the trees, the very bones of the earth. Love had entered the woods, and the forest knew it. She began calling him names, soft ones, secret ones, Moonborn, Silverheart, beloved beast. He didn't know what they meant, but he liked the way they curled in her mouth, like petals instead of weapons. She carved tiny marks into the trees to remember where they met, and he memorized every line. He brought her feathers, odd-shaped stones, once even a fawn's tooth he'd found in the stream. She accepted them like treasures. He was clumsy, unused to gifting, but her joy made his heart lurch. He didn't understand the ache that grew in his chest, didn't know that longing could feel like hunger and healing all at once. When she touched his muzzle for the first time, he froze, not from fear but awe. Her hand was so small, so warm. He closed his eyes and leaned in, the contact burning through every wall he'd built. She whispered, "I don't care what they call you. I see you." And for the first time, he wanted to be seen, not as a monster, not as a myth, but as hers, as love. Days blurred into nights, and soon seasons shifted. The forest bloomed and so did they. Her presence softened the rage in his blood. The full moon came and went, and though the pain still tore at him, it felt gentler when she was near. One evening she brought a flute, its notes trembling like wind chimes. She played for him, eyes closed, music pouring from her soul. He lay near her, heart thudding to the rhythm of her song. In that moment, he believed in miracles, in second chances, in the idea that maybe, just maybe, a beast could be loved. But fate is never kind to such stories. One night she didn't come. He waited, howled into the black, ran in circles till his paws bled. Her scent was gone, replaced by smoke. Then he smelled blood, not hers, but close. The village had come hunting. They'd seen her, followed her trail. They thought she was bewitched. They thought he had cursed her. They had taken her away. And something inside him snapped, not with fury but with purpose. She needed him, and he would find her. He ran like the storm, leaping over roots and crashing through branches. His howl split the heavens. He found the village cloaked in firelight and fear. Men with spears, women with salt, children crying, and in the center, chained like a thief, was his girl. Her eyes met his, and he saw no fear, only apology, only love. "Don't," she mouthed. But it was too late. He stepped from the trees, the villagers screamed. The sky wept lightning, and then silence. He stood before them, not attacking, not growling, just standing, watching, waiting. One by one, the villagers lowered their weapons, confused. This wasn't a monster. This wasn't a myth. This was something ancient, sacred. And then she did the impossible. She broke free of her chains and walked to him, hands raised. Her fingers touched his fur. She turned to the village. "He saved me," she said. "He loves me." A child stepped forward, dropped her sword, then another, until only silence remained. And in that silence, the impossible happened. The curse broke. His body shifted, bones cracking, fur vanishing. He was man, at last. He stood before her, naked as the moon, eyes wide, not with shame, but revelation. She didn't flinch, didn't turn away. She stepped closer, touching his face. "You," she breathed. "You were always this." He fell to his knees, unable to speak through the ache in his chest. But she didn't need words. She cradled his head against her, and for the first time, he wept, not like a beast, but like a man broken and made whole in the same breath. The villagers watched, awestruck, and one by one, they turned away, not in disgust, but respect. The forest had spoken. The tale had ended, or begun. He lived with her then, not in the village, but at the forest's edge, where roots curled around dreams. She taught him to read. He taught her to track stars. They built a life not of walls, but of whispers, of shared fire, of healing. And every night when the moon rose full and silver, he would hold her close, and remember the wolf he once was, and thank the heavens for the girl who loved him. Anyway, there were days when he still woke with a growl in his throat, nights when his dreams clawed at him, but she never wavered. She'd whisper stories into his skin, kiss the beast back into calm. He no longer feared his wildness, because she had taught him that love does not tame, it transforms. They built rituals, dancing in the rain, singing to owls, writing poems on birch bark. She wore feathers in her hair. He carved her smile into every memory. Their love wasn't perfect. It was real. It had teeth and tenderness, scars and starlight, and through it all he remained utterly hurt. He would watch her sleep, marveling at how something so small had undone a curse, centuries old. She didn't just break the spell, she broke through to the soul beneath it, made him believe he was worthy, not because he changed, but because he was always more than claw and fang. He still walked the forest at night, silver eyes glowing, no longer hiding, because now, he wasn't a legend, he was a lover, and the girl, she was his forever. And so the forest remembered them, not as monster and maiden, but as myth reborn. Trees whispered their names when the wind howled, just right. Wolves watched from shadows, respectful. The moon glowed brighter where they walked. Some say they never aged, others claim they became part of the woods themselves, guardian and heart, protector and flame. All that matters is this: their love became legend, not for its drama, but its truth. A beast who learned to love, a girl who saw the soul behind the fangs. In a world that feared what it didn't understand, they chose each other, and that choice changed everything. When you walk through the woods at twilight, listen. You might hear music, you might see silver eyes watching, and if you feel safe, If the air feels thick with magic, you've stepped into their story. The story of a wolf who loved a girl, who found his humanity through her heartbeat, who was never saved, but chosen, and in being chosen, finally learned what it meant to love, to belong, to live not as a curse,